Hi there, this is Bob Cowley, and today I'm out looking for some signs of rabbits. Have a look at this. I've just found a little rabbit scrape, which is quite a nice example. So, here you are. You can see, if you imagine a rabbit coming along here and putting its back feet here and there, and then digging with its front feet, making a little scrape, and then depositing some droppings as well. So it's really a scent territorial marker. First of all, with scent from between their fingers, they have a scent gland, and then added to it with the droppings. I'm sure you're all familiar with rabbit droppings, more or less spherical, and fairly clearly made up of grass. Quite small, only less than the size of a small fingernail. Hair droppings are quite similar, but substantially larger, maybe twice the size, and you don't normally find them clustered together like this. Rabbits like to cluster them together as territorial markings, either with a scrape that they make themselves, or perhaps if they come across just a little patch of raised ground, they'll use that as a latrine spot.
Here is a nice example of a latrine photographed at a different location.
So now, this is a reasonable example of a rabbit burrow. I've seen better, but this will do. Just let me show you this one. Okay, you can see that it's a good sort of size and shape for a rabbit. If you imagine going in there, it's big enough for my stretched fingers to rotate around in there. It's a good size for a rabbit, but not much. It's not really big enough for anything else like a fox or a badger, so you can be pretty confident that's a rabbit. Often you'll find in the sort of spoil area here, you'll often find odd droppings as well, but on this occasion not so lucky. But there are a few bones. There we go. That is the remains
Of a rabbit's skull is what I was going to say if the battery power on the camera hadn't run out just at that moment. Anyway, let's talk about footprints. Rabbits and hares bound along in a very characteristic way, which leaves their footprints leaving a very characteristic trail in groups of 4, like this. Perhaps it will be easier for you to see what I mean by looking at this tracks in snow. Here you can see the group of 4 quite clearly, and this rabbit is moving away from us towards the right hand side. You will see that the rabbit plants its front feet more or less one ahead of the other, and then the back feet land more or less parallel with each other in advance of the front feet. So if we go back to our muddy prints now, I hope you should recognise the same pattern. Again, the rabbit is bounding away from us and slightly to the right, so its front feet are landing one ahead of the other, and then the rear feet land together parallel with each other ahead of where the front feet have been. You must remember that rabbits are not very heavy, and their feet are covered with fur, so they often don't leave very much impression on the ground. But one thing you will see if you look closely at the front feet sometimes is the impression of the nails, which show up in a characteristic inverted J shape. The other thing to notice is quite how small rabbit footprints are. A whole footprint would be covered by a human thumb or fingerprint. Hare tracks show all the same characteristics as rabbit tracks, but they're substantially larger. An individual hare footprint, for instance, would be about 2 human thumbprints wide.